Well, hello again and welcome to the VK6CS Fun with Amateur Radio channel. As you can see, unfortunately I've got a, well actually you can't see, I've got a tripod in front of me, so between this panel and me is a tripod with a camera on it. It's always in the wrong position. I've got no idea how these people get around that, but I'll do my best. Right, now this is the front panel of the amplifier. And as you can see, I've test mounted the 3 panel meters there. That's actually about that's probably half a meter away. Hang on, let's see if I can get in a better position. Now I can't see the viewfinder. It's better if I stand on the left hand side of the camera because that's where the viewfinder is, but never mind. Well, I'll persevere. Right, so here is the anode current meter. That's a 0 to 1 amp meter. That's at the moment that's a 0 to 1 milliamp meter, but that will be that's for the grid current. I'll rescale that. I want the grid current when it's operating to be sort of somewhere between half and full scale, so somewhere in that sort of area. Simply because I'm expecting the tube to draw, I don't know, 600 or 700 milliamps, which is going to put that needle there, and I want that one to sort of line up with it when it's operating. It just look nice. That will be rescaled. That's the grid current, and that is the plate voltage meter, or HT rail meter. So that's come out really quite nice. I'm really quite happy with that. There was only one hole that had to be slightly enlarged. That was in the corner. There's 4 bolts, one on each corner of the meter when they to hold them in, and that one there was just slightly out of position, so I just had to file it. But not by very much, probably by a millimetre at the most, and with the washer on there, on the back, it covers it completely, so you can't see it at all. I'm quite happy with that. That's the worst part of the front panel done and dusted, thank goodness. I'll just show you the back, so you can see I'm not bluffing, as if I would, good heavens. I really need to tidy this table up, that's for sure. What was it Einstein said about? I think I've used that quote before. The Einstein quote where he said, if a cluttered work area indicates a cluttered mind, what does an empty work area indicate? Good one, Bert. Right. Now, there we go. That's the back of the meters, as you can see. Looks pretty neat. And that's the I say that was the worst one, because it's shiny and because of the lighting. It might actually look like you can see a bit of the hole around the washer, but you can't. It's the same as these. Once there's a washer, there's a spring washer. I haven't tightened them right down, but the washer completely covers that hole, as do the others. So that's let's move that across. Probably would have been easier to move the panel across, wouldn't it? I don't want to drag the transparent meter fronts across the tablecloth in case there's any solder on it. There we are. So that's the test fit for the panel meters, and that looks. I think that looks fine. So very happy with that, and. That was thanks to Al loaning me a 45mm chassis punch. Now I'll actually show you the 45mm chassis punch, because believe it or not, I went into a couple of tool shops, and when I asked if they had a 45mm chassis punch, they looked at me as though I had a flying saucer parked in the car park. Can you believe that? Well, actually it's probably quite easy to believe I might have a flying saucer parked in the car park, but you know what I mean. Tool shops not hearing of chassis punches. That's just amazing. So there we go. I think that's coming along quite nice. This front panel will be sprayed satin black to match the rest of the case, so the scratches and scuff marks on it are no problem at all, because I've still got to cut other holes in the front panel for the hang on, let's see if we can get that. Let's put that down. So over here there's going to be the load. Trying to see the viewfinder. It's going to be the load control, the tune control. Hang on, let's see if I can get this pan out a bit. There we go. That's a bit better. So there's going to be the load control bit about there, then the tune control. then there's going to be a band switch there, and the input tuning controls down here somewhere. But you know, the 45mm holes for the meters to go through were by far the biggest and the most daunting holes to cut neatly in the front panel. That's why I always do those first, because if they get cocked up, then there's no point doing the rest. So I get the worst bit out of the way first, and that's done. And yeah, very happy with that. Very happy with that result. Right, so and you probably noticed that meter there. You can probably see the three scribe lines there for the top bolts, bottom bolts, and centres. Okay, now this one here. That's gone out of shot again now. There we go. This one here, you'll see, still got the black and red wires on it, and the decoupling capacitor, and that's because this was these are quite long as well. This was used for prototyping the power supply, the HT board, to get it to read 3000 volts full scale deflection accurately. And I thought, well, I'll leave those on there and I'll just trim those to size. When the thing's actually mounted in the amplifier, I'll trim those to size, trim these to size, and just connect them to the power supply board. So so that's that. Now on this front panel here, let's lay it down again. As you can tell, that's sheet steel. Okay, on this front panel, I'll zoom out just a bit. There we go. I'm going to have 3 switches mounted immediately below these meters. So below the anode current one, I'll have the main on-off switch, which will turn the heater on and the blower on. Below the grid current meter will be the operate switch. That will turn on the supply to the relays to actually allow the amplifier to kick in when it's keyed. And the switch below the HT voltage meter will be for the HT. So there'll be main on-off, HT and operate. There'll be different colours, these 3 switches. I haven't decided yet whether they're going to be illuminated or not. They probably won't be, because I'm trying to keep this amplifier as simple as possible. And if they're illuminated, it means there's something in there is illuminating that could possibly go wrong, you know, a neon or something like that, some kind of lamp, or so they may just be coloured switches rather than coloured switches with any kind of lamps in them. I need to put times 100 in my 0 to 30 volt meter, so I'll take that front off. I'll just put a little X100 in there, so that's saying times 100 volts. So I'll read 0 to 3000 volts instead of 0 to 30. The plate meter, don't need to muck around with that one. 1 amp, I expect it to draw 600 or 700 milliamps. Grid current, unknown. Suck it and see. But I'll rescale it. I'll rescale it as appropriate. Right, that's the front panel. So very happy to get that out of the way. Those 45mm holes. Now I'll just get that. Let's get that put down somewhere. And I'll show you what the chassis punch looks like. Simply because people in tool shops, I couldn't believe it, haven't seen one. This is a 45mm chassis punch. If you can read that, as she says on there, 45mm. So you drill a, I can't remember what size drill I use now, but I'm reaching around the camera here. So what happens is you drill a little pilot hole in your panel. I should have left the panel up here for this, shouldn't I, really? But supposing that's the panel, that sponge, you drill a little pilot hole. You then drill a hole suitable for the centre punch bolt to go through. So that to go through there. And what I did was I picked a drill, and I got a drill that fitted neatly through that hole, just like the bolt does, just like that. Then I drilled the centre holes through the pilot holes, and then you put the bolt through that, goes through the hole you just made. This goes on the bottom side of the panel, the other side of the panel, and you screw that up until that's firmly, that doesn't move around, that's nice and firm like that, just by hand. And then you use a key, Allen key, like that, and you just turn it. And you just turn it. These are reasonably nice and long so that you can get plenty of leverage on there. And this thing went through that that steel plate, no problem at all, absolutely no problem at all. And left me with nice, very nice 45mm diameter holes. The meters just dropped straight into them. Couldn't believe it. Just perfect. Now, I shouldn't say couldn't believe it, really, should I? I should say exactly as expected. And of course it was. Actually, I expected to do a bit of filing, but I didn't have to, because if you don't have a machine to actually keep the drill in a perfect position for the pilot holes, if the little tiny 2mm pilot hole is even slightly off, then the big hole is slightly off, and then the bigger hole is slightly off. But they were all fine, so that came out really well. And what you're left with, once you've tightened this up, and it pulls the plug at the bottom, this bit, right through the plate and up into itself like that. You just take it away. That leaves you with a nice 45mm diameter hole in your panel, and it also leaves you with a disc of steel inside the cutter. And this is one that this is one I removed. That is actually one of them that I removed from that tool. So that's what and that's what a chassis punch looks like. So if anyone wants to, if you want to order one of these, and people say, I've got no idea what you're talking about, mate, I can't even picture that, you can refer them to this video. There we go, 45mm chassis punch. And the amplifier front panel. Well, I hope you found that interesting, as always. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you with the next thrilling instalment.